Okay. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
Buenas noches, señores y señoras.
It is my honor
Es un honor
to be the moderator
para
for
mí ser el moderador de esta primera sección de una serie
organized by the Women's Federation for World Peace of Italy, Portugal, and Spain. I would like to express our deep appreciation to the three presidents of WFWP, that's the acronym for Women's Federation for World Peace, because thanks to their diligent preparation, the program can be possible. They are Elisabetta Nistri, President in Italy, Marta Cavallo, President in Portugal, and Marcia Abreu, the Spanish President. Let me also thank the technician Giorgio Gasperoni from Italy and Carlos Badosa and Rubén Cabero from Spain. They are the ones in charge in making sure this program goes smooth. You know how important technologies are nowadays, and it really takes a long time to make everything go smooth and together. And last but not least, I would also like to thank to the translators because with their help, the message can be reachable for everyone. Now I will introduce myself. My name is Sara Marchand, and as you can already tell by my accent, I'm also from Spain. I'm also a Spanish member of the Women's Federation for World Peace. So, for those who don't know us, Women's Federation for World Peace is an international NGO with offices in over 120 countries. It was founded in 1993 by Dr. Hatja Hanmoon and her late husband, Dr. Sam Moon. Women's Federation for World Peace has a consultative status in the Economic and Social Council in the United Nations. So maybe some of you have already participated in our programs. I would also like to take the chance to let you know that Dr. Hatja Hanmoon has published her memoir, a book entitled Mother of Peace, and if you are interested, you might get it in Amazon. So moving on, as you can already tell, the general theme of this series is rethinking the society we want, keys to establish a harmonious society. And as you can see in the background of behind my shoulders, today our dear speakers will talk about this specific topic, the source of an ethical society and the role of women. Okay, so before we move on, I would like to make a few announcements. We are also in streaming with Facebook, so they can join us here as well. First announcement is that this program will be in English, so if you have some problem with the language, you can go to the icon below that says interpretation, click it there and choose the language you would like to hear, okay? Hope you can hear the translation properly. The second announcement is that at the end of the program, when the four speakers finish their speech, we will have some time for questions and answers. So while you listen to them, if you have any question to ask or any something to ask deeply, you go to the icon that says chat and write down there the question. Please be short and brief, okay? And also the person who you want to make the question. Or if it's a general question, that's also possible. Once you write it down, you send it, and our technicians will collect all your questions. And if there's many, they will choose the ones that are more maybe general, okay? And the third announcement is for the speakers. I was asked to remind you that you have a maximum of 10 minutes to share your speech. So when 8 minutes passes, you will hear a ring, okay, kind of a bell in the background that reminds you that you have 2 minutes left, okay? And once those 2 minutes are gone, then you will have, you will hear a slightly louder ring bell, okay? And then at that time, you should already end. Okay, so that being said, let me introduce our first speaker. I will like to invite Ms. Silvia Escobar, and before I want to tell a bit of her CV. She is the founder and first president of the Spanish section of Amnesty International. She is also former director of social services of the Spanish Red Cross and former municipal councillor of Madrid. former Secretary General of the Spanish Foundation of the Commission for Refugees, Director of the Human Rights Office in the Spanish Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Currently, she is the Vice President of Helsinki in Spain. It's an international network of universities for teaching of human rights. Ms. Escobar is also a good friend of ours and has actively participated in several events organized by WFWP, both in Spain and Europe. Her CV is much longer, so maybe they can put on the chat box also more extended CV. Okay, that being said, thank you very much. Let's introduce her, and Ms. Escobar, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Ethics is a set of moral values that refers to the specific behaviors of individuals or the social groups. In addition, ethics deals with the way in which we should behave with regard to an ideal or goal. There is a demand for ethics, not simply the ones of a particular school or an individual author, but common and universal ones. The dangers we presently face require consideration of what we mean by an ethical society and the role that women play in the shaping of it. That is why the initiative of the Women's Federation for World Peace is so welcome. Let me start by saying that human rights are probably the ethics of our time. Human dignity is the foundation of human rights. An ethical society is one in which human rights are respected. What are the sources of ethics? Religion is obviously one of the oldest foundations of ethical standards. As a manifestation of the divine, religions draw a line between good and bad. Tolerance, interreligious dialogue, and freedom of religion should always be preserved. Culture, as a pattern of behaviors and values that are transferred from one generation to another, is another source of ethics. It's important to stress that moral relativism on the account of culture and traditions is unacceptable when human rights are concerned. Laws, procedures, and codes of conduct laid down by states or by individuals also mean to guide behavior. Thus, individual conscience is influenced by religious beliefs, culture, laws, as well as by family, friends, profession, employers, and fellow workers. The global problems that we face and the need for coordinated responses transcending cultural differences and national borders require the recognition of a common substratum of values. Most of international organizations today, be it the United Nations, the Council of Europe, the Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe, and many non-governmental organizations, have ethic offices and are concerned with moral issues. They promote values of integrity, professionalism, respect for diversity, values which include, among others, independence, loyalty, impartiality, accountability, and respect for human rights. In the framework of the United Nations, UNESCO's Interaction Council, the Institute for Global Ethics, and the Third Millennium Project are all efforts in this direction. International business and financial institutions around the world also set rules and regulations so that certain values are respected. The UNICEF and the World Health Organization are further illustrations of global ethics in action today. The Charter of the United Nations and the Universal Declaration of Human Rights affirm values like dignity, fairness, equality, respect, universality, and interdependence. NGOs and civil society organizations stress on values like volunteerism, care, and social justice. This is the task ahead: sustainability of the earth, human fulfillment in the free exercise of both rights and responsibilities, complementarity between individuals and their community, and peace through justice. Equality between men and women is one of the most urgent goals. What is the role of women in constructing an ethical society? The contribution of women and the social values to a fair society is not new. Throughout ancient and modern history, women have collaborated and led purposeful actions to redress inequality in the hope of a better future. Women have made extraordinary contributions to society as farmers, warriors, writers, artists, queens, lovers, housewives, mothers, saints. They have almost always been and continue to be caretakers, educators, and workers. But largely, their life was the life of the family at home. Women were submissive to men in religious hierarchies. Women were largely barred from artistic professions, and their works were many times attributed to men. Women began to flow into the legal professions only in the 2000s. In early societies, economic conditions had moved the balance of power in favor of men. Today, conditions have radically changed, yet inequalities between men and women persist. Today, more women are in the workforce, in politics, in leadership roles, yet gender discrimination persists. Although the situation varies significantly, whether we consider the developed or the underdeveloped countries, there are patterns all over the world of the persistence of inequalities. I believe that men and women today face an unprecedented opportunity to achieve equal power and respect. I believe that men and women together can change the world for the better. The conflict between men and women should end. The War of the Sexes is the title of a book by Paul Seabright that shows how conflict and cooperation have shaped men and women from prehistory to the present. The belief that one can only win or lose, so prevalent in the relations between men and women, is a fallacy, since there are many ways in which things may be arranged to be mutually beneficial. Win-lose is a primitive approach, especially in a society that is able to provide basic necessities. Men could have richer lives by participating in trial wherein and even daily calls, especially now that much of our lives is technology-driven. Regarding their role as educators, it is important that men and women share instructional and learning positions, including in universities, with equal salaries and opportunities for advancement. In a world where all ambitions and careers are possible, there should be equal pay for equal work. Women have also an important role to play in the achievement of Sustainable Development Goals, the 2030 Agenda. A world survey published by UN Women has established the important links between gender equality and sustainability. Many of the SDGs specifically recognize women's equality and empowerment, both as the objective and as a solution. The mere enunciation of Sustainable Development Goals make clear how women can contribute to a prosperous world, end poverty in all its forms everywhere, to end hunger, achieve food security, ensure healthy lives and promote well-being for all, ensure inclusive and equitable quality education, and especially Sustainable Development Goal 5, achieve gender equality and empower all women. I would also like to mention the important Resolution 1325 of the UN Security Council concerning the role of women in armed conflicts, peace negotiations, and post-conflict reconstruction. It stresses the importance of their equal participation and full involvement in all efforts for the maintenance and promotion of peace and security. Resolution 1325 urges all actors to increase the participation of women and incorporate gender perspectives in all United Nations peace and security efforts. It also calls on all parties in conflict to take special measures to protect women and girls from gender-based violence, particularly rape and other forms of sexual abuse, so frequent in situations of armed conflict. The resolution provides a number of important operational mandates with implications for member states and for the entities of the United Nations system. It was an honor for me to present before the Security Council the first Spanish plan for the implementation of Resolution 1325 of 2007 as the Spanish Ambassador of Human Rights. And to conclude, women's rights are human rights. Root cause of gender inequality continues to be the stereotyped role society assigns to both women and men. Gender equality is not only a fundamental right, a moral imperative. It presupposes a society in which women and men enjoy the same opportunities, rights, and obligations in all spheres of life. This would be fundamental to an ethical society, one in which we all are free from abuse, one society that includes an ethics of compassion viewed as feminine value, and not only rules and laws viewed as masculine. If respecting human rights is the ethics of our time, bringing women and men free and equal together is a key step to achieving a peaceful, sustainable, and prosperous world. In other words, an ethical society. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Ms. Escobar. Thank you also for keep on the time. That was great. So yeah, you gave us a very insightful message, I think, to think about, right? Like you remind us that how woman has always been working for building a fair and loving society. Maybe at the beginning in the private field, and nowadays, fortunately, we are more in public charges, and we can reach to all society. And your last conclusion were just amazing, right? Like there shouldn't be conflict between man and woman, and we have to be all free and have the same equal rights and reaches to get what we want, right? Okay, thank you very much. So let's move on to our next speaker. Her name is Miss Hilda Maria de Araujo Novo. Hope that's the pronunciation is right.
Yes.
So maybe later you can say it better. So she's a dear friend of WFWP in Portugal. Has a degree in Germanic philology from Faculty of Arts and Humanity in the University of Porto. She is also a secondary school teacher. Currently, she is vice president of the CDS-PP Municipal Politics Committee of Viena do Castelo. It's a beautiful city in North Portugal, by the way. She also has a lot of experience in the field of education, working with schools and high schools, being a member, representative, and president of different centers. She's been part of the Committee of Agriculture and the Sea on Education and Science and the Environment, and also on the territorial planning, decentralization, local government, and housing. That's a very short summary because her CV is much longer, so you can go to the chat icon and you can check more of her extended experience. So, Ms. Araujo, you have the word.
Thank you. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I would like to greet our moderator, Sarah Martian. You said my name properly. It's Hilda Maria Araujo Novo. And I'd like also to greet all the panelists and a special salute to the Women's Federation for World Peace founders, the late Dr. Sun Myung Moon and his beloved wife, Dr. Hak Ya Han Moon, as well as those who are here with us today at this webinar, whom I'm very honored to address. If I may, I would also like to say a genuine and sincere thank you to Marta Carvalho, the president from WFWP in Portugal, for the invitation to share my views and testimony on this so important subject we are discussing here today, the role of women, having in mind the society we want and the keys to the establishment of a harmonious society. And being such a wide and important topic, I've decided to center my views and mostly my testimony on the challenges we face in today's society, but having in mind what I have been asking myself these days. Are these times of pandemic changing our roles, women's roles? Well, I don't think so.
Pregunto a mí misma, ¿hará estos tiempos de pandemia cambiando nuestros roles, los roles de la mujer? No creo. Yo creo que los ha hecho más difíciles.
But I will come to that a little bit later,
Pero voy a
if you don't mind. Firstly, I'd like to tell you that being a very practical and objective woman myself, and as a teacher, as well as a politician, I'm used to addressing people in a simple and straightforward language, and that's what I'm going to do. I'm not going to be theoretical. Therefore, let me share with you what has come into my mind when I start organizing my thoughts on the subject. Actually, what immediately popped into my head was a line from a lyric that at least those who belong to my generation recognize. Times they are changing, from the poet and songwriter Bob Dylan, rewarded with the Nobel Prize in Literature in 2016. And this line came into common knowledge in a quite different context back in 1964. Today, I would change it into times have always been changing one way or another. And I dare say it would be strange not being so. everything evolves, and women's roles too. And people's greater awareness and conscious of women's value as mothers, wives, and workers, whether at home or not, and as a safekeeper or guardian of peace and tolerance, has been evolving and spreading naturally, but slowly, too slowly though. Um, we all also do know that the European, African, Asian, or American reality is, as far as women's roles and rights in society are concerned, differ from country to country, and it even differs inside the same country. The difficulties of being a woman are still a reality into many places and situations, whether due to living conditions, culture, customs, prejudice, illiteracy, and intolerance. All have been obstacles to the change of mentalities that lead to discrimination, which is by all means unacceptable. I had the privilege of never having experienced any kind of discrimination, whether as a young woman, as a student, as a woman politician, or as a teacher. Throughout my life, being a woman never prevented me from having the same opportunities and the same rights as men, even the same salary. However, I am completely aware that this is not a rule. This is the exception. I was a member of parliament of the CDS-PP parliamentary group, a Portuguese Christian Democratic Party, until the last legislature. I was president and vice president. I still am a vice president of the CDS-PP Municipal Political Committee. And I was also local
Sono
council
stata anche consigliere locale del comune,
coordinator of the educational area and representative of the Ministry of Education in several education councils, among other positions in the education. Private life, I have introduced to different realities and witnessed appalling situations hardly to believe. And no, they were not in these extraordinary and dramatic times of pandemic. I believe this issue, women's roles and equal human rights, have been put aside away from the public eye, even I would say almost forgotten these days of pandemic. And I'm so much worried about it, mostly in what concerns battered women, older women, and single mothers' protection. Single mothers are being left alone, facing the overwhelming responsibility of feeding their children without any support whatsoever, many of them having lost their jobs. Long-term domestic abused women have been suffering incredible atrocities inside their homes, whether physical or psychological, without the possibility of asking for help, because the chain for welfare support doesn't work these days as it should. So many situations unaccounted for that I could talk you about. Not a long time ago, I had the opportunity of expressing my belief that a life of peace and harmony in our families and places of work, in whatever place on earth, is to be cherished and to be spread as much as I, who am also an ambassador for peace, and as a Catholic, as a mother, as a wife, as a politician, as a teacher, as a woman, and as all, men and women, may be able to wherever we may go or may be. We have been through an unprecedented time in the history of our lives, in whatever country we are living in. We have experienced changes and fears never felt before that have inevitably led to the realization that nothing at all can be taken for granted in this earthly life of ours. However, in this time of pandemic, despite the uncertainty and suffering it has brought, I do believe it also has been a time to recall that intolerance, understanding, solidarity, Spiritual values and principles are never to be forgotten, and women and men should always be the face of them all. I also strongly believe that education is fundamental for the change of mentalities and attitudes towards women. It is mainly at school and through teachers that understanding and tolerance, the acceptance of difference is learned. As you know, so much more could be said, but I'm not sure about the time. I'm not supposed to go on talking behind the time I was given to address you. And I heard Sarah Martin talking about a bell that I didn't know about before. So let me finish by saying this. I'm hopeful that one day women become valued and praised all over the world as they deserve to. I do believe that women coming together was once a beginning. Keeping together will be progress. And if we manage to work together for this purpose of giving women the value, praise, and dignity they deserve, it will be success no matter the pandemic. Because their roles, women's roles, our roles, are still the same as important as ever. I was truly honored to have been here today to give my testimony. I do thank you all, and I wait your questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Hilda Maria. It was thank you for sharing your amazing testimony and experience in this field. Yeah, as you said, education is fundamental to change the society and to give opportunity to every child, every grown adult to become a very important kind of brick of this society. So, yeah, let's see the questions they have for you.
Okay.
Moving on, our next panelist is Miss Raffaella Di Marzio. She's from Italy. She's also a good friend of WFWP Italy. She is the founder and director of the Center for Studies of Freedom, Belief and Conscience, called LYRIC, in Italy. She has a BA degree in psychology, educational science, history of religion, and religious science. In June 2016, she received her doctorate in psychology at the Pontifical Salesian University in Rome. She is professor at the Master in Prevention of the Phenomenon of Radicalization of Terrorism and Policies of Interreligious and Intercultural Integration at the University Aldo Moro, Department of Law in Bari. She has been professor of Psychology of Religion at the Pontifical Faculty of Educational Science Auxilium in Rome. She also has published some books that you might find in the icon of the chat. And yeah, with that being said, let's welcome Di Marzio. The floor is yours.
Thank you. I would like to thank the Women Federation for World Peace, and in particular Elisabetta Nistri, my good friend, for this webinar and for allowing me to be present at the discussion of the issue of the social and ethical society and the role of women. I am the director of the Center for Studies on Freedom of Religion, Belief and Conscience based in Rome that I represent today at this webinar. The Center for Studies of Freedom of Religion, Belief and Conscience is a non-profit free society of culture that promotes the development of people, humans are, and the protection of their civil liberties all around the world. Our association is independent from any religious organization and partly incorporated in Rome and registered at the Transparency Register of the European Union. We founded this association because we think that religion continues to play a very significant role in guiding the development of the individuals as well as the wider society throughout the world. And we know that religion can exert a positive influence on modern democratic society. For this reason, we launched the Awareness Project. The project promotes a series of events, conferences, and debates on religious minorities, which very often fall victims to stereotypes, discrimination, and persecution, in order to promote their knowledge among the general public, the media, and the academic world. Scientific knowledge is indispensable for the prevention of and the contrast to various forms of discrimination and labeling that occur against both religious and non-religious minorities alike. The last project we organized was a webinar on this subject, Women of Faith, Female Diversities in Female Perspective. The aim of this project was to promote the dialogue and exchange of experiences between women representatives of different religions and spiritualities. We invited 11 women members of as many religious communities who were all committed to protecting and promoting human beings, human rights, and the dignity of men and women. Their efforts are aimed at stressing the originality and the important role of women not only inside their religious community, but also in the modern multicultural and multi-religious society. Their experiences clearly show that the role of women is necessary for the creation of an harmonious society. There are many challenges that prevent the evolution of such a society. One of the worst examples are the human rights violations faced by women belonging to religious minorities, Christians, Hindus, Ahmadiyas, Sikhs, Shia, in Pakistan and elsewhere. In June 2015, our association, in collaboration with Global Human Rights Defense, held a press conference at the press room of the Italian Parliament in Rome concerning this issue. Girls belonging to these minority groups face abduction, rape, forced conversion, and forced marriage committed by extremists of the Muslim majority community. These women are structurally affected by both gender as well as religious violence. Regardless of Pakistan's ratification, women and girls remain victims to gender violation on a large scale. Unfortunately, many women are affected by both gender as well as religious violence all over the world. In Europe and in Italy, gender stereotypes and the domination of men over women still remains. Indeed, male violence is not the work of some violent individuals, but a way to keep patriarchy, that is to say, the domination of men over women. One of the environments where discrimination against women is most prevalent is that of the religious communities. Different churches, in a transversal way, formulated ideas and established practices that sanction the superiority of men over women, using a biased sacred books interpretation in order to subdue women. Indeed, it is men who hold power and carry out the most important activities in religious communities. According to Mahatma Gandhi, woman is the companion of man gifted with equal mental capacities. She has the right to participate in every minute detail in the activities of men, and she has an equal right of freedom and liberty within. By sheer force of vicious custom, even the most ignorant and worthless men have been enjoying a superiority, and worthless men have been enjoying a superiority over women which they do not deserve. We know that the characteristics and the sensitivity of women are essential for a vision of peace, love, and non-violence. We think that religious faiths can make an important contribution to gender balance. Our commitment is not antagonist, but shared by men and women for a model of fair society. The plight of vulnerable categories essentially derives from the biased and dangerous conception of considering some human being as inferior and unequal. This is the reason why it is fundamental to create a culture of humanity, equality, and tolerance in order to stand up for human rights globally in name of their universality. Working in our association and speaking with the victims, we were able to see with our own eyes that many people are discriminated against just for being women. For this reason, our association is committed to work actively with institutions, media, and any accountable authority or organization to be sure that the democratic society provides all citizens with their right enshrined in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. In this respect, I think that we must be grateful to the Women's Federation for World Peace Italy and the other organizations for organizing this webinar and for its efforts to create an harmonious and peaceful society in the world. At the end of my speech, I would like to conclude citing again some significant words by Mahatma Gandhi. If non-violence is the law of our being, the future is with women, who can make a more effective appeal to the heart than women. Thank you for your attention.
Okay, thank you very much. You gave a wonderful presentation. Thanks again for your hard work as a professor and also with your association. As you said, religion has some influence in the society and also the role that women take part. So thanks again for your lecture. It was very insightful. The last speaker of the evening will be Ms. Mercè Abreu. She is the president of WFWP Spain and the Secretary General for WFWP, as I said before at the beginning of the program. She was born and brought up in Brazil, married to Spaniards in 1989, and has 2 children. She has a college degree in sociology obtained from the Federal University in Rio Grande do Sul, Brazil. Has a Master in Religious Education from the Unification Theological Seminary in Barrytown, New York, USA. Has been the chairperson for Women's Federation for World Peace in Spain for over 20 years already. She also has been the Secretary General for WFWP Europe since August 2019. As such, she has a wide experience in organizing conferences, seminars, women's sisterhood ceremonies, charity events, speech contests, all related to women issues. Has helped to organize different programs and events in Europe from this NGO and also at the European Parliament in Brussels, Albania, and in Spain too. It is my pleasure to welcome our last speaker, Ms. Mercè Abreu.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for such a nice introduction. And I would like to say that I'm really proud to be part of this team of wonderful women speakers who have so much experience and done so much already for society. Thank you for being here with us. The sources of an ethical society and the role of women. There are several questions we could ask ourselves as a way of reflection. Is ethics inherent to human beings and therefore to society? Or is ethics a human construct and therefore submitted to social contexts and constant changes? What is the central axis of ethics? As has been said already in other presentations, ethics is the field of philosophy that studies the way individuals behave in society based on explicit rules. It comes from ethos in Greek, which means a way of being. The existentialist theory developed by Sartre says that human beings don't have an inner ethical nature, and says that values and rules we live by are approved and modified in social life. Therefore, they can change from one direction to another. The Women's Federation for World Peace considers that human beings are endowed with freedom and that allows them to modify the hierarchy of values and rules they live by. And in that sense, they are responsible for the changes in the hierarchy of ethical values and rules that have occurred throughout history. However, besides, there is within human beings an inner trend to harmony that gives direction to ethics. This inner trend pushes human beings to cause changes in the rules that are necessary for society to live in harmony. For example, in the relations in ancient societies and in between them, some rules appeared to help reduce the intensity of the conflicts. Instead of punishing minor crimes with killing the whole tribe or the family of the criminal, a new rule was defined. Eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth. If you pluck my eye out, I will pluck yours out. Later on, a new ethical principle appeared to help prevent conflicts. Do not do unto others what you do not want them to do to you. That is the basic golden rule, accepted everywhere, though not by everyone, to create a climate of mutual respect. Then, 2,000 years ago, Jesus Christ offered a more constructive formula. Love your neighbor as yourself. Nowadays, love is a well-received message by most people. The vast majority of them considers love as a good practice to live by and as an instrument to achieve happiness. Nevertheless, a lot of people still considers that love is just a nice word, a good principle, but inapplicable to lead human behavior, much less human society. But why can't love be the very basic criteria of behavior in the future human society? Why not? The first problem is the lack of a clear definition of love. We know that in the name of love, a lot of crimes were and are still committed in the name of race, in the name of the proletariat, in the name of religious beliefs, in the name of the love I feel for my spouse, and even in the name of God. The main reason for that is that there is a big confusion between love and true love. We would like to propose a definition of true love. Love is an emotional force that unites the lover with the loved one, with the purpose to make the latter, the loved one, grow, respecting his, her, its own nature. This definition makes it clear that true love implies A, the desire of the lover to unite with the loved being. B, the purpose of the lover is centered on helping the loved one to grow, be it a person, a thing, an animal, an idea. That is, the lover will invest his, her, energy, time, and effort to help the loved one to develop its own potentialities. And C, the completing part of this definition is that the lover will help the loved one to grow, respecting its, her, his own nature. Let me give you an example. If you wish to have a beautiful plant decorating your room, so you need to do some research and find out what kind of earth it needs, how much water it needs, if it needs to grow in the shade, in the sun, and protect it from diseases. If you do so, most surely the plant will grow beautifully and will be able to decorate your home and will give you joy. So this process happens in every relationship in which love is involved, in which true love is involved. It's a bit more complex, not a bit, a lot more complex between human beings, because we are at the same time lover and loved ones, and we affect each other intellectually, emotionally, and in terms of actions. But the process is the same. So the ethics that assumes true love as its axis promotes harmonious relationships within the individual, as by loving myself with true love, I will be fostering the development of my emotion, my intellect, and will, developing my capabilities to co-create myself as a harmonious individual. It promotes harmonious relationships with those around us, helping us to create an interconnected body as members of a world family centered on true love. With our spouse, as it strengthens and develops our potential to maintain a loving relationship within the couple. And with nature, as by caring and respecting the environment, will be guaranteeing a safe place where to live and also to enjoy natural beauty. So, indeed, evolvement of human ethics along history is none other than the discovery of the need for true love. To create a society under true love ethics is the responsibility of all individuals, men and women alike. Regarding women's role in establishing a harmonious society, we can emphasize the special role that motherhood gives us. Women as mother or potential mothers tend naturally to care for others. We are very close to our children, having had them in our bodies, and then when breastfeeding them. We have a special role in that period that should be taken as a model onto society. Women are naturally more caring, more serving, and sympathetic with their family and with the society in general. So we can more easily communicate and teach the world that true love must be the center of the new ethics with which to guide individuals to establish a harmonious society. This is a time in which women have the great opportunity to offer a different kind of leadership, a leadership which will help to understand and to practice true love in all areas of human life. Women's new style of leadership should recognize the true love ethics as the application of basic principles derived from the big purpose of our lives, which is the perfection of human beings' ability to love. And I will finish here. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Marcia, for such a thoughtful lecture. Yeah, as you said, there's a big confusion between what is love or what is true love, which is an emotional love with the purpose to make your partner grow, respecting her own nature, is what I really get from your message. And that true love must be the center of an ethic or true ethics society. So with you, we finish this first session of this webinar. Thank you again to all 4 of you, because you keep in time really good, all under 10 minutes, which is amazing. Thank you very much. I don't know if you heard the bell. I tried my best because there's always problems with the mics, but anyways, yeah. So as I said at the beginning, now is time for some questions and answers, okay? I have many questions here that the participants have sent, but I will just pick some of them. Let me check. So the first one goes to Silvia Escobar, okay? That's the question. Could you explain briefly why moral relativism is unacceptable when it comes to human rights? This question is from Judith Bessel from Germany. Her mic is off. Maybe the tech could... Sylvia, your mic is off. Sorry, if you could put it on. Maybe the technicians help her.
Maybe you could go ahead to another question.
Okay.
Meanwhile, they try to fix that problem.
Yeah, okay. Sylvia, I will go to you later, okay? So our second question goes to Hilda Maria, okay? What contribution would you make to harmonize the role of man and women in this family and in this society?
Okay, can you listen to me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, so I believe that this issue of women's empowerment is at the top of the agendas across the world in all culture, and more in developed countries than in less developed countries. But I believe that women must be given the chance to control their own lives, and that can only be achieved through literacy, education, and raising awareness. Because rights, responsibilities, and opportunities must not depend on whether you are born a man or a woman. And if women are included, they are supposed to be included, not underrepresented. For example, female legislators, senior officials, and managers have been fewer than their male counterparts. The participation of women in local politics, administrative, and fair representation across different levels of decision making must increase. Not through quotas, I'm against them. I think that social and cultural changes, attitudes and perceptions toward women regarding their roles, are learned from family and at school. Sylvia and also Raphael and Marcia talked about ethics and how it has to do with the concept of right and wrong and the behavior related with duty, obligations. And I do believe that ethic as a principle affects how people make decisions and live their lives. And when the mother is educated, equally treated, and has a say in the household, it's less likely that the children will have badly constructed discriminatory perceptions towards women. And I also don't think I have a recipe, and I also believe nobody does, but I do believe that all is learned from an early age inside the family and at school by having role models, whether at school or at home.
Thank you.
Sarah, may I say just a second thing about the former question? I forgot, I spoke about right to life, of not to be subject to torture, but I forgot something very important: non-retroactivity of penal law. That is something that can never be forgotten.
Yeah, thank you, Sylvia. Thank you very much. And also thank you, Hilda, for your explication. So another question is for Rafaela Di Marzio. Says, which are the causes that prevent women to find their own place in their religious communities, and what can be done to encourage a more active and responsible participation of women in religious communities and in society, also in order to prevent and resolve social conflict? So, Rafaela, could you hear us?
Yeah, yes.
Okay.
I was thinking about this question because recently I've read a very interesting report published by the Center for American Progress about the efforts of women of faith to achieve gender equality. And I think that some information published in this report can be applied also to Italian situation and the European situation. These days, women of faith are fighting for gender equality at work and in broader society in many ways. First of all, fighting against sexual harassment inside the religious communities and elsewhere. Second, challenging misunderstanding and misinterpretation of sacred texts that have justified the submission of women to men. And thirdly, pushing to promote gender equality inside their own religious communities. Moreover, some women are running for elected office, including women from religious minorities not represented inside institutions. Others have called for immigrant justice in their local communities and beyond as social justice activists. Moving forward, women will continue to fight, to work hard for gender equality in any area of public life. And I think that they will succeed. I think we will succeed. I don't know when, but I am sure we will succeed. I hope I answered your question.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. So the next question goes to Marcia. How does your organization...
excuse me, maybe you could ask Silvia Escobar's question first. There was a question for her.
Yeah. Right, Silvia, we couldn't hear you properly.
Oh, no. Look, I said that there are things that should never be done. One is very fundamental rights, very important rights. As I said, the right to life, the right to be preserved from torture or cruel or inhuman treatment, etc. But also the non-retroactivity of penal law. That's also a very fundamental right. And of course, you cannot argue that in culture or tradition, it's possible to kill or to torture or whatever other things that should not be done, of course. That's what I wanted to say, that the non-retroactivity of penal law is a very important subject too.
Okay, thank you. All right. So, Marcia, as I said, here goes the question. How does your organization apply true love ethics?
Oh, how does our organization apply true love ethics? We are developing programs of all types, trying to respond to the needs of people in different circumstances. For example, we have educational programs in which we insist on the ethics of living for the sake of others. Not so much in terms of material needs, of course, as well, but in terms of education or offering educational proposals that could serve as foundation for actions. An example right now could be something very recent. The WFWP Europe has developed a curriculum education that is being used in different parts of the world. And very recently, there was a program in Germany. It was an international youth and UN forums for peace and development. And we had a collaborator there speaking on the capacity building and leadership of peace. So that's an educational example, an educational effort that we are doing to offer material to be used in different places and different institutions. And another example that I would like to, that comes to mind, and it's quite important, is the founder herself, Dr. Hak Cha Hong Moon. She has created a prize that's called Sun Hak Peace Prize that rewards the actions of people who are developing projects for the sake of others, for the benefit of individuals. And those initiatives, for example, I could give you some example. One of the awardees is Dr. Gupta from India, and he developed fish farming technologies to, of course, to take care of the production of food in that area. It's quite important. Another person that was awarded the prize is Dr. Gino Strada. He's a doctor, Italian surgeon, and a humanitarian who has been helping, has helped already like over 9 million refugees with medical assistance, emergency medical care. And another one, to give you the example of a woman that was awarded a prize, is Waris Diri, a Somali woman who was who had her genital mutilated. Let me see if I say this well. And from then she decided to help children to learn. Well, I mean, her culture and women and children in Africa to learn about the dangers of this. Her foundation is called the Desert Flower Foundation. So by offering these people who have initiated important projects to serve humankind, WFWP is recognizing also what other people do. And it's a way of promoting the true love ethics. Another one is what we are doing here, discussing these issues which help to raise our conscience based on true love ethics, to advocate for it, and also to network for it.
Yeah, that's right. Thank you very much for your answer. So the fifth question is general for any of you who want to take it. It's very interesting. Today, we only have masculine-oriented leadership theory, and women tend to become adapted to the masculine leadership style. We lack a female-oriented leadership theory to help us become a different kind of leaders. How could that theory look like? How could this female theory leadership look like? Who wants to answer?
Well, I can say, for example, that there are things that are considered to be masculine, as I said in my presentation, and things that are considered to be feminine. For example, men are said to be more assertive, focused, competitive, ambitious, action-oriented, etc., and women more empathetic, nurturing, compassionate, and focus on personal relations, etc. But I think, honestly, that leadership can adopt these feminine qualities. And this it's very sad. I agree with the person who poses a question. It's very sad that many women in leadership positions imitate the conduct of men instead of being persons and women.
Yeah. Someone else wants to add something?
I would like to say something. Of course, when I presented my text, I spoke about the new women's leadership. It's an opportunity for women now to promote this leadership based on love. It's very interesting that the other day I was listening to some women speak at the assembly of the National Assembly here in Madrid. And even though I don't think they understand what love, or at least what the differentiation we made between love and true love, so what they expressed about love is not what I mean exactly here, but the fact is that 3 of those women mentioned love in a political speech. And I thought that was interesting. Maybe we are coming to a time where we'll have to consider what love is really, and how can we express love by really serving others and living our lives for the sake of others. And so I think that's going to be the shift that women can contribute, especially at this time now. The shift in leadership. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Miss Ilda,
yeah?
May I ask you another question?
Yes.
Okay. Understanding that education can contribute to the establishment of a harmonious society, what would an equitable education look like to you?
Well, I can give you an example of what has been done and is being doing by our teachers at school these days. The Portuguese curricula has had lately an important focus on human rights, and our students have been very focused on having the opportunity of sharing their experience and ideas on the fact that we have all our own thoughts and ideas, but in spite of it, we are supposed to learn most of it tolerance. Tolerance is the most important item that has been dealt with inside the classroom, and that involves not to discriminate, to be equal before all situations, whether it is before the law, where it is in the working place, where it concerns the responsibility to other people and to other people's rights and freedoms. So what I think that these days has been a big focus is the defense of human rights, and whether it is taught during Portuguese lessons, English lessons, we focus on the importance of tolerance and on the acceptance of difference. Because if you learn customs, habits, traditions, and you understand them, but at the same time you show other possibilities with tolerance and acceptance, that is the most important. That's something I think is a kind of evolution, to let the students look at the human rights as they have been spread in all kinds of ways, in a very particular practical place, like in school during the experiment of changing their ways, but at the same time being stuck to a kind of principle that has to do with the opposition between bad and what is bad and what is wrong in what concerns behavior. So when we say we are all born free and equal, we should be treated the same way. Don't discriminate, because these rights belongs to everybody, whatever the difference is. When we talk about mothers and children, people who are old, unemployed, or disabled, all people have the right to be cared for or to be respected, and we should let us say we should have a proper order so that we can all enjoy rights and freedoms in your own country, in our own country, and all over the world. I think that is the basis for coming to a more tolerant world, and the acceptance of difference since a very early age, because I believe that it's when you are young that you learn to accept difference.
Yes, you're right. Yeah, so tolerance and respect, yeah. Okay, thanks all of you. We already finished the time for these questions and answers. So yeah, thank you all you speakers and participants. It was really a lovely evening. We have to come to an end of our program, and I hope you enjoyed and learned something that we discussed here, and yeah, it was really fruitful and inspiring. Before I conclude, I would like to remind you that the second session will take place the 19th of November at the same time, 7 p.m. The title will be Challenges to Prevent Violence and Reach a Peaceful Coexistence. Kind of a bit what we touched today, right? It's quite a sensitive and delicate topic, this of violence. So, yeah, you will receive the invitation through your email or social media address. The social media address you shared to the WFWP. And yeah, I hope we can meet again here in this virtual place and that we can again learn, share, and have some time together. And if you think this might be interesting to some of your friends, you can invite them to join us, okay? So let's give a round of applause to our speakers.
Thank
and
you.
also to all of you participants that have been behind patiently and creatively. So thank you again, and we wish you a very nice end of the day. See you next session.
See you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye. Thank you. Bye.